Okay, this is talking about the difference of squares. Okay, and we've talked about difference of squares. They also use the idea of perfect squares. Perfect squares or difference of squares means the same thing. Oops. I'll call it difference of squares because we should know that difference means to subtract. So between these right here, it has to have a minus sign. And what that means is that when we go through to split it up, they've got to be exactly the same except for one is positive, one is negative. So if I look up here in this one, there's no middle term, and so it has a minus in between it. So I'm going to have a plus and a minus. Well, a squared splits up as a and a. B squared splits up as b and b. This is what my answer is because when I go through, say that I go through and I try to multiply it, a plus b and a minus b. A times a is a squared. A times negative b is negative ab. A times b is ab. B times negative b is negative b squared. Well, as you see right here, these two, they cancel out. That's where I come up with the a squared minus b squared right there. So let's look at number 2. First off, it only has 2 terms. To be a difference of squares, though, it has to have a minus sign in between it. Does it? No, it has a plus in between. This one is not factorable. It means that I cannot split it up. There's nothing else I can do to it. The only thing I could do is look and see if there's a GCF to pull out, but there's not. So right now, there's nothing we can do with it. Eventually, there will be in the next unit that we do. Number 3. Okay, difference of squares. There's a minus sign in between it. Okay, so that's good. There's no middle term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up. A squared splits up as a and a. Because it's a difference of squares, one is positive, one is negative. Now, I've got to split 36 up evenly. What number times itself? I've got 6 and negative 6. Well, 6 and 6, either way, it doesn't matter. With 6 and 6, say you don't know. Well, if I go right here, I can go into my home screen and put in there the square root sign, which is second and then the x squared. See, above the x squared is a little square root sign. And you can put in 36 and press enter. It will tell you what that number is. That'll work for all of these. So then my answer becomes plus 6 and minus 6. That would be my answer. Let's look at number 4. Number 4, there's only 2 terms. There's a minus sign in between it. So that's good. It means I'm going to be able to split it up. Hopefully. I know one's going to be plus, one's going to be minus. M squared splits up as M and M. So I'm going to put that here. Now, 16. You can go and put the square root of 16, or what number times itself gives you 16? 4 and 4. There's also an n on it. So it's 4n and 4n. So one of them is going to be a plus 4n. The other is going to be a minus 4n. Try the next one. On this one, it is a difference of squares. There's 2 terms. There's a minus sign. So I'm going to split it up. I've got a plus and a minus. 4 splits up evenly as 2 and 2, and the A's split up. So I have 2A and 2A. 9B squared. 9 splits up evenly as 3. Whoops, not an A. Try B. It'll be 3B and 3B. So it's a positive 3B and a negative 3B. Number 6. It is 2 terms. I have a minus sign in between it, so I'm going to split it up with a plus and a minus. X squared splits up as x and x, very simply. 64. Well, if you don't know the square root, or if you don't know what multiplies together to give you 64, you can also go find the square root, second x squared, put in 64, and press enter. It's 8. 8 times 8. So I'll have plus 8 and minus 8. That's all you have to do on these. Number 7. Number 7 is again the difference of squares. There's 2 terms. So you're going to have a plus and a minus. A squared splits up as A and A. 81. Again, I can go in the calculator, put in there second, the x squared, 81, press enter. 9 and 9. So I have 9 and 9. And there are my factors. Number 8. Number 8, I still have 2 terms. They both have a minus in between them. So again, a plus and a minus. Now, 16, what multiplies times itself to give you 16? 4, so I have 4t and 4t. And then 25. 5j and 5j. See, it's got to be a j on each of them because it says j squared. 5j, 5j. They're exactly the same. One is positive, one is negative. Right now in your paper, try number 9. All right, continuing now on this number 9, what you should have gotten. It's a difference of squares. So I have the parentheses. I know that one is plus and one is minus. The 9 splits up as 3z and 3z. The 25 splits up as 5 and 5. That should have been your answer for number 9. Number 10, it has 2 terms. It has that squared in between it. I'm sorry, not that squared, that minus in between it. Let's see if this works. 81 should have split up as 9p and 9p. 64 splits up as 8 and 8. That's what you should have come up with for number 10. Number 11. Again, it's a difference of squares. There's 2 terms with a minus in between it. Well, 49d squared, that splits up as 7d and 7d. 121, again, if you don't know what number multiplies together to give you 121, go second, x squared, 121, and press enter. That's 11. So that means it's 11 times 11. So I have 7d plus 11 and 7d minus 11. Now, those are special occasions. Oh, and there's number 12. Sorry, I forgot about this one. We can try and do this one. And then after that, we're going to go look at some of these others. "36 splits up as 6 and 6. I have a plus and a minus. W squared splits up as W and W. And there's your answer for number 12. If you wanted to check it in the calculator, you could put it in the calculator, just not W, use X. Okay, there's number 13. Okay, number 13. Number 13, you can look at it trying to figure out how to do it mentally. Or if we went to go do the box, because there's 3 terms. I know that what's in the first square right here is the first term, so I have a squared. The bottom right, negative 3b squared. The coefficient in front of that a is a 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. The factors of negative 3, 1 and negative 3, or negative 1 and 3. I need the factors that add up together to give me a 2. When I add these together, it gives me negative 2. When I add these together, it gives me a positive 2. These are the factors that I need. So I'm going to put in there a negative 1ab and a 3ab. Where am I getting the AB from? Because that's that middle term. So now when I go to look, I know a squared is going to split up a and a. A times what gives you negative 1ab? It's got to be a negative 1b. A times what gives me 3ab? I already have the a. I just need the 3b. So now my factors are a plus 3b and a minus b. You could write minus b or minus 1b. Number 14. The first thing you want to look at is trying to figure out what is your GCF. All right, you want to see if there's a GCF. I see the smallest number is 3. 3 goes into 12, but does 3 go into 11? Nope. There is no GCF, so there's nothing I can pull out. So I'm going to draw my box because it's got 3 terms. I'm going to put 12r squared in the top right. Top left, sorry. The bottom right is 3. The middle term has an r, so it's something r, something r. You must multiply 3 times 12, which is 36. I need the factors of 36 that add up together to give me negative 11. Well, the easiest thing to do is to go in your calculator and put in there 36 divided by x. Oh, let me go down here and erase this. All right, so I need them to be negative 11. So right here, if I add those together, that gives me negative 20. That's not good. Let's see. That gives me negative 15. That gives me negative 13. Well, right here, that gives me negative 12. Negative 13. Negative 15. I'm going back up. There are no factors of negative 36. Oh, go away. There we go. Of 36, of positive 36 that give me negative 11. So since there are none, you write not factorable. You cannot factor it. So that's all you need to do. And there's not a GCF to pull out. On the next one, you have 3 terms. So I go to figure out my factors. I put x squared in the upper left-hand corner. Bottom right is 32. Well, something x, something x. There is a 1 in front of this x squared. 1 times 32 is 32. I need the factors of 32 that add up together to give me 12. Well, let's go back to the calculator here. I'm going to put in there 32 divided by x. Second graph. Well, let's see. I need the whole numbers. If I add these together, what's negative 8 plus negative 4? Negative 12. Well, I need a positive 12. If I go right here, I've got 4 plus 8. 4 plus 8 is positive 12. So that means that I've got, there we go, 4 and 8. Because when I add them together, they equal 12. So I'm going to have 4 and 8. X squared splits up as x and x. X times what is 4x? 4. X times what is 8x? 8. So your factors are x plus 8 times x plus 4. You can write it this way or the other. Number 16. On number 16, as I go to look, the first thing you look at is there a GCF? Does 5 go into 18? Nope. So I'm going to draw my box. And in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to put 18h squared, bottom right-hand, negative 5j squared. Something in the middle term is hj, something in hj. So now let's take 18 times negative 5. 18 times negative 5 gives me negative 90. So I'm going to go into y equals and put in there negative 90 divided by x. Now press second graph, and I want you to look through and find the factors that add up together to give you negative 27. Now, as I add these together, I get 89. I get negative 89, negative 43, negative 27. There they are right there, 3 and negative 30. So I'm going to put in here 3 and negative 30. Now, this is where you have to be careful because splitting up 18, man, it could be 18 and 1, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. There's lots of different options of how 18h squared can split up. If I look, one of the ways, I'll do it like this. This is a smaller number. Out of these two boxes right here, what's the GCF? What goes into both of those? 6 doesn't go into 3. 3 goes into 3. 3 goes into 18. So 3h would go here. Well, the only one that has an option of 3 is like 3 and 6. Well, if I put a 6h here, let's see if this works. 6 times what gives me negative 30? Negative 5. But what other letter do I need? A J. Now, 3h times what gives me 3hj? Plus 1j. So now I have 6h plus j times 3h minus 5j. Those are your factors. Now let's look at number 17. As I look at this, okay, there's 3 terms. Does 3 go into 16? What's 16 divided by 3? Is it even? No, it should be 5 point something. So there's no GCF. So I'm going to go through and draw my box. So I have 3g squared and 16. Something g, something g. 3 times 16. What is that, 48, I think? 3 times 16 is 48. So I'm going to go in here, go to y equals, and put in there 48 divided by x. Second graph. I need the factors to equal negative 16. So I'm going to go in the negatives because negative plus a negative is a negative. So this right here is negative 49. That's negative 26. Negative 19. Negative 16. There it is. Negative 4 and negative 12. So I have negative 4 and negative 12. So I'll put negative 4, negative 12. Now, 3g squared is going to split up as 3g and g. So out of these 2 boxes, what is my GCF? Does 3 go into 12? Yes. So 3g goes here. 1g goes up top. 3 times what is negative 12? Negative 4. G times what is negative 4g? Negative 4. So I have 3g minus 4 times g minus 4. Those are my factors. Okay, go ahead and try number 18. All right, on this one, this is a difference of squares, or we call it a perfect square. The reason why is because it has 2 terms right here. 2 terms in the middle, the other middle term is missing. So it means they're going to be exactly the same, except for one of them is going to be plus, the other is minus. One way to look at this is that x squared splits up easily as x and x. So I know that goes into the first spot. Now 100, you're looking for the number that multiplies by itself to give you 100. If you don't know what it is, you can go into the calculator and you go to the square root sign. Second, the x squared button right here. Put in there 100 and press enter. That's 10. So that means 10 times 10 is 100. So it'll be x plus 10 and x minus 10. On the next one. The next one is like it is a perfect square as well. A difference of squares. It's got 2 terms right here. The middle term is missing. There's a minus sign in between. I know one is plus, one is minus. Now, for a lot of people, they can look and see that 9 splits up easily as 3 and 3. That's that last number, so I could put it here. They struggle a little bit right here with this fraction. Now, you can look at it and one of 2 ways. You can look at it and see, well, 1 splits up 1 and 1. 4 splits up 2 and 2. But say you don't know how to do that, you can always go into the calculator and do the square root, second the x squared, put in there 1, divide 4, put in there 1/4, and press enter. It'll give you the decimal, but remembering how to change it to a fraction, I can press math, enter, enter, and it'll give you 1/2 as how it splits up evenly. So that means as I go up here, I've got 1/2 x and 1/2 x. That would be your answer. Number 20. I look at number 20, and the first thing I think is, what is the GCF? Well, does 2 is the smallest number. 2 goes into 8, but does 2 go into 3? Nope. So there is no GCF, so I can go straight to the box. Now, top left-hand corner is 8s squared. Bottom right-hand corner, -3. Something s, something s. You take 8 times 3, -24. I need the factors of -24 that add up together to give me 2. Now you can try and come up with them by yourself, or go into your handy dandy calculator and put in there -24 divided by x, second graph. I'll go in here, I'm trying to add them up to give me +2. It just so happened that mine was already set at it. When you look at it, up here I've got -4 plus 6. -4 plus 6 is +2. So my factors are going to be -4 and 6. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. What matters is how you split up the 8s squared. It's going to be either 8s and s or 2s and 4s. And you've got to figure out which way it goes. See, if I would go here, some people will be like, oh, well, I'm just going to put them however. Because 2 times what gives you -4? -2. You'd be like, oh, well, that works. But what 4 times what gives you 6? Does that work? Does it give you a whole number? It doesn't. That means you've put them in the wrong order. Well, that's because out of these 2 boxes, what's the GCF? It's not a 2. 4 goes into 4, 4 goes into 8. So this is where the 4s goes, and the 2s goes up here. 4 times what is -4? -1. 2 times what is 6? +3. So now my factors are 4s plus 3 times 2s minus 1. Now, if you wanted to check that, you could replace the s's with x's, put it in the calculator. Remember, you put all of this into y1, all of this into y2, and press second graph. How do you know you're right when you look at the table? All y1 and y2 are the same. Both of those columns are the same. Number 21. First thing I look at is there a GCF? Does 4 go into 9? No, it doesn't. So I'm going to go straight to my box. And I'm going to put 4r squared up in the top left, the bottom right, -10s squared. My middle term is rs. That really doesn't mean anything. I just put rs here, something rs. Now, multiply these 2 numbers. You get -40. I need the factors of -40 that add up together to give me 9. Well, I'm going to go back to the calculator, go to y equals, and put in there -40 divided by x, second graph. When I add these 2 together, it gives me +6. That gives me +18. I'm going up here. It's +39. Well, golly gee, let's see. What's that? +3? Doesn't seem to be working. That's a -3 now. None of these give me +9. If none of them give me +9, this means that this is not factorable. There's nothing, or prime. You can write it as prime either way. Prime means just that as low as it can go. We can't split it up. You know, when you have a prime number, 7's a prime number because you can only multiply 1 and 7 to get 7. It's kind of like basically I can't do anything else with it. Number 22. On number 22, there's two terms. And if I go, it's going to be a difference of squares or a perfect square. I've got a plus and a minus. 49 splits up as 7 and 7. So I'll have 7h and 7h. 16 splits up as 4 and 4. So I have 4k and 4k. That's all you do. You split them up, and when they're the difference of squares, you split them up so they look the same, but one is positive, one is negative. Number 23 is a review of stuff we've done before. It says write the equation. Remember, the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. Well, let's find those. First off, I go and find my B. My y-intercept is right here. That's at 0, 2. My slope, my line is decreasing. That means my slope is going to be negative. I normally start at my y-intercept, and if I know it's decreasing, you always have to go up or down first. Remember, slope is rise over run. So it's how many up and down and how many across. Well, to go to the next point, I have to go down 2 and to the right 3. Negative 2 over 3. So now my equation will be y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. And to check that, you can put that into y equals in your calculator. We can go here and put in there negative 2/3, 2 divide 3, x plus 2, and press graph. And make sure that my line looks the same as what's graphed. And it does.